I remember a story. This was many years ago, maybe 7 years or something like this. I was sitting with a brother of mine, and he was talking to me about the shadow of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it an attribute? Or is it because in the hadith, سَبْعَةٌ يظلهم الله في ظله يوم لا ظل إلا ظله. 7, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shades, and he gives shadow, at the day where there is no shadow but his shadow, or no shade but his shade. Meaning, the day of judgment and the shade of Allah. So he was talking to me about, is this an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal, or it's not an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal? So I went to the Majlis al-Fiqhi, our Sheikh Muhammad Sham Tahiri, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, every Friday. After the Salat al-Jum'ah, he sits down, and people ask him questions, and he answers. And years ago, I attended like 60 or 80 of them. 60, something like this, 60 or 80, from the Majalis al-Fiqhiyya of the Sheikh. So I said, I'm going to ask him this time. So I raised my hand, the Sheikh said, Tafaddal, and it's recorded. I said, Sheikh, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve you. The hadith, سَبْعَةٌ يظلهم الله في ظله وما لا ظل إلا ظله, that 7, the hadith that I just said. I said, is this an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal? I asked him something, I don't remember the exact wordings, but this is the meaning. Are they, and is this an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal, or is it a created shadow that is not an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal? And the Shaykh told me the answer was the meaning. I'm going to give you the meaning. It's been a while, 7 years or 8 years or something like this, 6 years, something. The Shaykh said, hold on to what the Sahaba held on to and stop where they stopped. He said, didn't the Sahaba hear this hadith? No, they did. He said, didn't the Sahaba, did they ask this question of yours? No, they didn't. Stop where they stopped. Stop where they stopped. Is it not sufficient for you? What is sufficient for them? Wallahi, after he said that, how I felt when I was there, I was like, khalas, it's sufficient for me. I don't want to. But he continued. He said, and I will answer your question. He said, in some of the terminologies of the hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in some of the wordings of the hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, سَبْعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّ عَرْشِهِ. أو كما قال صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه. The meaning of the hadith is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them shade by the shade of his throne. This is the shade. The shade of the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is the shade that is meant in the hadith. Because when we have one hadith, ya ikhwa, I'm explaining now, when we have one hadith, and then we have another hadith that explains the same hadith, then we do what? We bring them both together so that we understand. If we have a general hadith or ayah, and then we have a hadith or an ayah that excludes something from the ruling, then we don't say this is general, and then we don't exclude that which was brought in the other ayah or hadith. So if we have that Salatul Dhuhr is 4 rak'ahs, and then we get a hadith that while traveling it's 2 rak'ahs, you do qasr, then we exclude salah in traveling. We have to, because I have another evidence that excluded from this. And the same thing is when I have another hadith that explains this hadith, a terminology, and so on. You get the idea. You get the idea.